Hey guys, Aaron here again, Safety Observations. Making another video. The background is not as good as previous ones. It's a little overcast today, but either way, we're going to talk about safety. So I wanted to make a video discussing how to get employees to do the right thing or to believe in safety. Something that I've observed over the years is most places, most small places, tend to not have well, at the individual level, they don't have the right beliefs, attitudes, and actions around safety. So, if you're a safety professional or a business owner, you've probably gone out and you have probably corrected people for not doing the right thing. Hazards and things pop up all the time, and you ask yourself, how come nobody saw that or recognized it or reported it? This is all around employees not having the right belief, attitude, and actions around safety. So I wanted to share something. I wanted to share something that I have done that has helped me a lot. So unfortunately, people, even if you talk to them, most people are not just going to do the right thing. If you're lucky, you'll have leaders and team leaders, supervisors, superintendents, whatever, who can kind of force that and make it happen. But even they can't be everywhere all at once. So it, results in, you know, incidents, recordables, especially if you've got more than 50 or 60 employees and if you're in a high hazard industry. So what can you do to fix this is the question. And here is something that I have done that has helped me a lot. And it's kind of like shifting the thinking from, going from safety cop to safety observer. And so a safety cop is constantly having to go out and get onto people and correct them. And, sometimes that results in people getting angry. And I think sometimes that'll only get you so far. But then what do you do, right? And so what I have found to be a lot better than, going up and having to tell the same person over and over again. Well, one thing we used to do a long time ago was write people up and just fire them. Um, but even that will only get you so far. So what else can you do? Is there something else we can do to shift that mindset? Well, what I began doing, and I learned this from a very smart plant manager that I worked under some time ago, is I decided to get a spreadsheet and start tracking at the individual level, who, you know, is not wearing their PPE. And I would actually keep count of the times that I saw people without the PPE on. Um, I would look and see who showed up for the safety meeting. And I would start tracking who was showing up and who was not. I would even started tracking how engaged the employees were, and I would have them do activities that would, tell me how engaged they were and how much they cared about safety. And once I started tracking that in a spreadsheet, it gave me a very clear picture of where we stood. Ultimately, I ended up taking those numbers and rolling them up at the supervisor or at the lead, the leadership that they were under, up to that level. And so then I would have basically a bunch of numbers tied to each team or each leader. I ultimately ended up making like a composite score. I basically graded them on how their team was doing, and that really helped me put things into black and white and very clear, you know, objective terms. Um, and so when team leads and superintendents, whoever your leaders are, when they see themselves compared to other, leaders, their peers, and if it's not good, it's embarrassing. And so that's what we started doing. We started tracking that, and we started kind of giving a score to each individual person, each individual team, and we would hold, team lead meetings. where we would pull up the spreadsheet and say, Team A, whatever your name is, you know, your numbers here are very poor. Is there anything I can do to support you? And there's different ways for them to get those numbers turned around. Maybe I'll make a separate video on that, but I could include it here. I think I've got time. But basically what they had to do was copy what I was doing. They had to begin holding a meeting with their people and pulling up the spreadsheet and showing them where their gaps were. And, when we began doing this, something magical started to happen. Over time, the cells where the numbers were, if they were short of the expectation or didn't meet the target, we would make them highlight red. And if they did meet the target, we would make sure that the conditional formatting was set to green. And so over time, that red began to turn into green. And what was interesting is people either quit or they got on board. No, there was no yelling. There was no having to get on to people. It's simply just having a meeting and showing the numbers. And, I guess out of sheer just not wanting to be a poor performer, people rose up and did what they were asked to do. And like I've said in other videos, whenever you're able to achieve that and get that turned around, something interesting happens. Now suddenly, if you have the right things that you're tracking on the spreadsheet, right? If you have those things right, you begin to see a decrease in incidents, and a pretty dramatic decrease, I might add. And what you've actually done there is you're on the path to creating a safety culture, or you have succeeded in creating a safety culture. And so anyway, that's what we did. That's what I have learned to be the best method. You can go up and you can yell at people, you can write them up, and but that spreadsheet and that meeting, I call them accountability meetings, is very powerful. And something else that surprised me when we did this for the first time, and again, you have to have leading indicators that are correct too. And maybe I'll put that down in the comments or do another video on it. But people begin to behave positively towards safety. I thought it would just make them more angry, but they started behaving in a way that totally shocked me. Next thing you know, instead of me running around trying to twist people's arms to do things, now suddenly they were coming to me and asking me, hey, how can I fix this? How can I make this right? How can I do this or that? But none of that matters if you don't have management's commitment. The people above you have to support you in a program like this. So if that sounds interesting to you, if your people still don't have the right belief, attitude, and actions, think about that. Think about some new leading indicators you could create, like safety meeting attendance and engagement. What would happen if you asked everybody to submit a safety observation per week, or report one hazard per month? And then you had them begin doing that. Imagine the amount of hazards that would come flowing into you. Then there would be a new bottleneck. You have to mitigate those hazards. So you'd have to, then find a way to tackle that. Maybe I'll cover that in another video. But it's amazing how everything begins flowing to you instead of you running out to everything else. It flips everything on its head, and it's a good thing. So if that sounds interesting to you, put some notes down in the comment section down there, and maybe I'll circle back and put a description in there and try to explain this a little more clearly. And so yeah, maybe next time I'll have a better view. It won't be as overcast. You can see some mountains. Maybe not. See you in the next video.